And welcome back. We are live with Black AI Media. I'm Cedric Scott Jr., and we are here for another amazing interview and episode of The Road to 100. In this episode, I think I'm going to learn some stuff. I'll say that. But we have Kate Carter, who is here to speak on her work, which we're going to get into healthcare. We're going to talk about your PhD focus. We're going to talk about some of the other projects you're working on, collaborations and partnerships, and all the things. And major shout outs to you and an awesome Wu-Tang t-shirt. So if you're listening and you can't see this, you missed out. But I want to really quickly just open up the floor to allow you to come in and introduce yourself to the listeners, and then we'll dive into some of the questions.
So honored and excited to be here. I am Kate Carter, and I used to play roller derby, and my roller derby name was Cream Nefertiti. And Cream, of course, was taken from Wu Tang. And my team was the Furious Truck Stop Waitresses. And so I was mixing African heritage and hip hop and all things that make me me. And so I am passionate about hip hop, but I am very passionate about AI, and I am excited to be here to talk all about it.
Appreciate it, and I'm glad to have you. And I'll start with our kind of major driving question that we're asking everybody in these interviews, which is as it pertains to AI technology, where we are, especially in our community, what does narrative mean to you?
For me, narrative is really blending everything that I've done thus far. So I have studied blockchain, technology, and cryptocurrency, and I've worked in healthcare, and it is bringing that story, that continued story together to amplify what I feel is really important, which is our voices as in Black people, our voices as in female, to this technology, as well as educating women and people of color about this technology. Because without that education component, we are often fearful of the technology and how powerful it is, but also how we've been misused in the past and mistreated. And so narrative is really bridging that journey and then letting it unfold so that people can come behind you, right? And then elevate even further.
That's awesome. And you use the word journey there, so I actually want to go into that a little bit. Can you actually tell us a little bit about your journey as it relates to tech and artificial intelligence in particular? Like, how did you get started and what led you to where you are today?
It's not been linear. And to most people, it probably wouldn't even make sense. To me, it makes total sense. I've had an amazing life up until this point, right? And I really feel that it's been an adventure. I am a kind of person that says yes to opportunity. Um, and I'm not fearful of mistakes or what could go wrong. It's like, this sounds exciting, let's go for it. And so I don't come from a technology background, I would say, at all. I did study media actually in undergrad, and then I had an opportunity to go teach English in Japan. So, right after undergrad, I flew to Japan and lived there for 2 years, which was eye opening to the US and our customs and cultures, but also to another country's custom and cultures, and just made me really reflect on what I held dear to my heart and valued. And if you have not been to Japan or know nothing of it, they are very far in advance in technology. So even way back when I was there teaching English, I was in awe of the cell phones they had and the vending machines and the technology that wasn't here yet. And so they were very far in advance. I definitely took notice of that. When I returned to the US, again, not a straight path, right? I ended up marrying an individual that worked in the music industry, and I had the opportunity to go on tour for 6 years. So it opened my world. I've been to 33 countries so far, but just really allow me to see and meet people and see what drives us and see what motivates us and see how we are so connected more than we are not. And maybe that's just hip hop culture, right? So like no matter where you're from, if you're into hip hop, like you have something to vibe about and connect with. But again, eye opening. Like, what are emerging markets doing? What is it like in Ethiopia? Like, I could not believe when I landed in Ethiopia that there was individuals asking me, where do I live, and they knew my senator here in Arizona, because I didn't know much about Ethiopia other than Haile Selassie, right? Like, I'm like, how do you know John McCain's name? That is mind boggling to me. But it's these unique moments that I've had in my life that have just led me to where I am, which is now I work in healthcare. I do physical therapy with kids with special needs, and I am getting my PhD in artificial intelligence with an emphasis on artificial with AI in healthcare with equity. And I think I'm going to study pain management, chronic pain management, and look at how people like us are often untreated or undertreated regarding pain management, and how these solutions can either amplify what's our current conditions, or decrease and make the healthcare system better and make our whole health better as a population. So I'm really passionate about it, because I think there's great opportunities. But if we're not coming with that lens of we need to have inclusive data sets, and maybe all the standardized testing that has continued to exist doesn't work for everybody, then we're missing out. We're missing the mark. And so, yeah, I'm excited to be on this road.
Wow. So much to unpack. I
I
definitely
know
want
it's so
to.
random. Like, it doesn't make sense
Well,
at all.
it's interesting just considering pathways and trajectories and things like that related to, I think, for a lot of us, where we are and where we kind of end up, where we begin. Because even for myself, background in science, went into education, so on and so forth. So it doesn't necessarily seem as far fetched, but what I'm hearing is that you've been able to take those components, those kind of hodgepodge pieces, and begin to construct a broader scope vision, or they put this puzzle together, and it actually starting to look like it looked like an image that is recognizable in a way. And I actually wanted to backtrack just a little bit, and this is not necessarily in my subset of questions, but I'd be remiss if I didn't tap into this component and piece that you shared, which is travel, and the importance of engaging and indulging in other cultures, taking opportunity to learn more so about the world, stepping outside of ourselves while still remaining respectful and understanding of ourselves and who we are, where we come from, whether that's, black people here in America. And then of course, you go anywhere. And as you mentioned with hip hop culture, like it's just kind of like this, like we know what it is, right? Like you go anywhere in the world and you hear the music and it's like, oh yeah, like I understand this. And there's a clear distinction there. Can you tell us just a little bit about within your travels, what type of experiences do you think really added to the scope of influence, of perspective that you have in terms of where you're going, the things that you're doing, and really thinking about, well, how has that positioned you in your mindset and mind frame in terms of what you're doing, I guess, when it comes to AI, when it comes to technology, and the things that you've shared with us in terms of your vision and goals?
Yeah, I think the common thread with everything that I've done in life has been people and connection. And as I travel, of course, I want to see the tourist, I want to see the Eiffel Tower, but I also want to visit the local grocery store, and I want to meet your grandma, and I want to see how you live, because I don't think that one way is right or wrong. It's just a learning opportunity. And what I have found is most people around the world literally just want that. They want to be able to wake up, have their family, go to work, contribute, have days off, have the vacation, if that's even an opportunity. And if it's not, they just want to live like in peace. And most people are warm and welcoming. It is the media machine that can sometimes tell a different narrative. And while I have traveled, I get the opportunity to sit and reflect. And when I, like, for example, when I was in Uruguay, and I'm sitting there and I'm just watching, people watching, because I like to people watch. And when you have the liberty and freedom to take a walk in the afternoon, you know that things are okay. There are so many people around the world that are just struggling, right? And the opportunity to say like, hey, I want to take some time out for myself, for my physical body, for my mental health, and take a 15-minute walk. When you're in neighborhoods like that and you can see that taking place, you know that, okay, this place is obviously safe enough to walk around. It's typically usually clean, because why would you want to walk in a place that's not? And so it's that component, and then the ability to access healthcare. What we have, this weird misconception here that, oh, we have the best healthcare system, and oh, the best this and the best that. But I have had easier times accessing healthcare in emerging markets, or what you might consider a third world country, than here in the US. We are absolutely getting robbed, and it's shameful. We're driven by profit here. And I think that there are other countries that do a great job at protecting their citizens, whether that be they have the same kind of garbage products that we have, like fast food consumption stuff, but they don't allow all the toxic chemicals by law, right? They don't allow those medical pharmaceutical commercials to be on repeat so that your brain waves take it in. And so that's what it's taught me. It's taught me that we are so much more alike than we are different, and that if given the opportunity, really we just want the luxury to be able to be safe, to be in a clean place, and have access to basic necessities: education, healthcare, and then a job, a good paying job. And when you strip those things away from people, when the turmoil and the ugliness comes in. Like when you're fighting for survival, which so many people here in the US are, or in other emerging markets are, just fighting for basic survival. It's unfortunate because it's not necessary. I don't believe in scarcity, right? Like there's enough water, there's enough food, there's enough, all of the things that we need. It's just about allocation. And for some reason, we are horrible at allocating. And yeah, it's taught me that people are connected. We are way more similar than we're not. And what have valued the most is taking the unbeaten path, like going down the cobblestone pathway and discovering a little shop. And yeah, and just meeting people where they're at and respecting something that's different than what I'm used to, because it doesn't need to look like what I grew up with or what I know. But yeah, people, we're all people, we're on the same journey, we're not going to leave here alive. And so the better we are at working together, even if we have differences, the better it is for everyone. I hope that
Yeah,
answered.
nobody. That was amazing, and yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of components to that that you can tap into. Like nobody gets out alive. That's a that's a kind of a given, and I think within that, I think what's really important to highlight is the viewpoint that you have when it comes to people, right? Because and shout outs to you. My wife has been a special educator for, I mean, since before I met her, and I've working in education, and you meet different people. It's just a lot of variety, and definitely when it comes to just, as you said, meeting people where they are. Right? That's not just children or youth. That's adults. That's
Yeah,
people on the street. That's anybody you encounter. With that, would you say that then? I guess simple. I guess simple answer to a potentially complex question. In terms of what you're working on now, right? Your PhD focus, and then even the work that you're doing professionally in AI. Would you say that people are your primary driver and motivation for the things that you're doing?
absolutely. Every patient encounter that I've had, you walk in that room, like I know that probably other therapists walk in the room like, okay, I have this idea, we have a treatment plan, we have this goal to meet, but I walk into the room like, what am I going to learn from this person? Because some, like my oldest patient I've ever treated is 104 and was a woman. And so to be on this planet 104 years, to know that they have seen the civil rights, the women's rights, like they have seen so much change, I'm like, tell me about it. Like, tell me about it, why we're working on balance. Because to me, you're the greatest source possible, right? Like I could read a textbook, but you might have been there, and maybe you were on the other side, and I would have been yelling at you had I been there at that moment too. But I still can learn from that moment. And as well, I work in healthcare, but I also work at a startup called Mia AI, and it stands for Mission Impact Academy. And our mission is to equip and empower 1 million women around the world with AI. And there, I'm head of program, so I'm designing all of our educational content. That comes first as well, because people are joining our platform, joining our online courses from all around the world. And if you don't know, every country is doing something different when it comes to AI. Some countries are doing a more protective stance. Some, like the US, are like, let's just go all in and see what happens. And so it is so interesting to see what Peru is doing, or what is happening in France, or what tools are accessible in Canada. And so we have this common goal. Let's learn some AI literacy, because every single country, every single career, I believe, will be impacted by artificial intelligence in some form or fashion. That said, they too have something to give.
Wait, don't go anywhere. If you're loving this conversation, we've got so much more waiting for you at blackaimedia.com. That's right, you can catch the full interview with even more insights, stories, and perspectives from our guest. At Black AI Media, we're all about celebrating the innovators, disruptors, and visionaries from the Black global community who are shaping the future of tech and AI. We're talking game-changing ideas, powerful voices, and exclusive content you won't find anywhere else. So, if you're ready to keep the inspiration flowing and dive deeper, head over to blackaimedia.com right now. Don't miss out on the full experience. We'll see you there.